Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'll be playing some more Dragon Raha, okay? So, I wanted to bring you guys a Gunslinger guide and how I'm optimizing my Gunslinger, okay? So I'm going to be talking about, the skills and the rotation you should use, and also the stats you should be stacking, and giving you explanations and whatnot. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let's first start talking about the stats, so... What I really like about Dragon Raha is that the developers tell you what stats to stack, okay? In a lot of games, developers don't really tell you what you should be stacking. They just say, oh, your class is good for magic attack, and your class is good for physical attack, and that's all we're going to tell you. And they do that all the time, and you really have to figure it out yourself on how to optimize your class. So what I really like here that they do is that they put M's next to the stats that you should be stacking. So they recommend crit level, physical attack, and wind attack as well. So they're not wrong. Physical attack, you need to gouge that. That is like pretty much your base, okay? That's the cake, the juicy, the meaty part of the cake, okay? So you need to have lots of physical attacks for your multipliers to actually really do well, alright? So now that you see that I'm stacking my physical attack, now you can see that my crit level is also very high as well at 16k. So I'm trying to make a crit build right here. I need to find some ways to up my crit damage to maybe get it up to 200%. That would be much better than 150%. But we'll find out. There is passives that you could use to increase crit damage. So as a gunslinger, you want to be focusing on crit and crit damage and also physical attack. As well, you want to be supplementing that damage with multi-strike explosive rounds. So your normal attacks and all of your attacks have a chance to proc multi-strike explosive for gunslinger, which is very useful because normal attacks don't really do that much damage, and when they do proc a multi-strike, it does like 20k. Now you add that with your normal attack, which is like 5 to 10k, depending on if you crit, and that could be 30k damage on a multi-strike, which is actually not bad damage. It could rack up over time. So I honestly think that the third best choice is multi-strike for sure. Definitely neglecting cooldown reduction. We definitely do not need that. That'll just... Even though you'll be able to pop your cooldowns faster, we do not know enough information or data of this game on how much stats you need to actually lower your cooldown reduction. I don't know any of this. Like, it'd be nice if they told me, like, if you have this many points in CDR cooldown reduction, we'll reduce your abilities by this and this and this. They don't do that, so I can't really tell if it's going to be useful or not lowering my cooldowns. I mean, adding 1 to 2,000 more points in cooldown reduction could only shave off like 1 second, you know? You just don't know. So I'm just gonna play it safe. I want to stack my DPS. Maybe on other classes it could be a lot more useful, especially if you gouge it and whatnot, but not for my gunslinger. That's not what I'm going for. So with that out of the way, so CDR is a no crit level, crit res level. I'm not stacking that. I'm not trying to go for like a very tanky build. I'm a zoner class. I'm in the distance. I don't need to be very tanky, okay? So I'm kind of neglecting that stat as well. My physical defense and my magical defense are pretty decent, but I'm neglecting other sorts of defenses like crit res level and whatnot. Okay, so and then the next comes is AP level, which is attacks partially ignored target defense, dealing additional damage. Now, if you ask yourself, in past video games that we have all played and we've all made builds for, we had to apply our knowledge from the past to future video games because they all take things from one another. Okay, they're all very similar in some way, shape, or form, and use kind of similar formulas when it comes to damage. So historically, crit and crit damage builds have always done more damage than stacking very high defense ignore builds. So it has always been like down the rotation or down the prioritization where crit damage, then defense ignore. So you do not want to prioritize your defense ignore over something like crit damage and physical attack, okay? Because theoretically, you're always going to do more damage with crit and crit damage, okay? It might be different for this game. I honestly do not know how much defense you're ignoring as you stack AP. There's just not enough data to tell because everything is just numbers. There's not percentages, so it's very hard to tell. So I'm not stacking that. I'm keeping that, you know, I'm still putting points into it and whatnot. I'm just not prioritizing it, okay? So there's that. Now, I think that's pretty much all the stats I kind of want to talk about. I don't want to talk about too much, guys. There's also wind attack too, which is kind of like physical attack in my opinion. I'm not really sure how it works. I'm just assuming that all my gunslinger skills use wind attribute, so hopefully this will be very useful in increasing my damage even further, but I'm still not sure because when I use my attacks it doesn't look like I'm using wind attribute. It looks something totally different. So moving on. So now that you guys know that we have like, oh my fucking god, now that you guys know that we have a multi-strike proc rate that does extra damage, we also have allies too. We get 3 allies. You can have a 4th if you keep on spawning or recruiting for more allies, okay? And all these allies also have a chance to proc their own abilities every time you attack. So it's very important that you have your allies in, and they all have their own unique abilities as well. Like I have my Ava in my main slot, which increases critical level by 1814 for 10 seconds. And since I have her in my main slot, which is the center, she has a higher chance of proccing. She has a higher percent rate of chance to proc. Okay, so it's very good. I want a very high crit. So, and I also like her passive too, which increases my crit by 226 and increases my crit chance by 1%. Now, I really do wish they would tell me what my crit chance is just straight up, but I cannot tell. All I know is that eventually I'm going to hit diminishing returns, because if you think about it, your crit rate can never be 100%. It is impossible. So if I keep on stacking my crit level, or whatever the fuck it's called, yes, my crit level, how do I know when to stop stacking it? Because I'm not getting a actual number. I'm not very sure. And the same way about crit level resistance. Like, is it going to be like a tug of war? Like, as people keep getting crit level resistance, they're going to be more immune to your crits, as in, so you have to keep stacking your crit level? Like, it's just going to be an never-ending tug of war. But I don't know. That's what I'm thinking that they're trying to do here. So definitely very interesting. We'll see going forward. I still have a lot to learn about this game. So now that I've talked to you guys about the allies, how they all have their own procs too. Even the pets. Pets have their own procs as well. They have a chance to fucking do damage too. So like, they can use their ultimate. Every time you attack, they could use their ultimate, and they could also provide further buffs too. So every time you attack, at least something is bound to happen, so using lots of normal attacks is very good, especially with multi-strike, and everything else has a chance to proc as well. So you always have a chance of something happening. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, that's a good form of DPS, is proccing those kinds of things, alright, and critting as well. Now, I really want to start talking to you guys about the rotation. But before that, I need to think. So we talked about the stats, we talked about the procs, okay, and the certain procs that you would want to optimize your build, like me having Ava in my main slot so that I have more crit, so I have a higher chance at critting. So now we can start talking about the rotation. Okay, so I actually have to find somewhere to actually practice my rotation. I'm not really sure where to go. I think a good place to go was the Siberia Harbor, and then I believe it was over here. Okay. Because if I'm... Fuck. Alright, so we go this way. I'm very sorry, I kind of don't remember where I'm going right now, but I have like a vague idea of where I'm going. All I know is I need to get to like where that fucking dragon is. Kind of like over here. Goddamn. Fucking running into trees and shit. Useless bitch. Like, why am I not allowed to fly? And like, how do I get over there? Like, really? Really? Oh my god. Okay. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. I think I know where I'm going now. Okay, I know where I am. There he is. Alright, so there's this like level like 120 monster here that like just like sits here, and he's like really good for practicing your rotation on, in my opinion, because he just takes damage. He's just like a fucking sponge, and he doesn't do a lot of damage to you either. Oh, you see my proc, how my Ava came out, and then I have that 10-second buff. Fucking OP, dude. And then boom, another Anjo came out. So you always have a chance at proccing something, which is what you want. So I haven't really talked about the abilities with you guys, like the actual Gunslinger abilities. So I'll give you guys like a rough, like, let me run away. I'll give you guys like a little rough synopsis or summary about these abilities real quick. So Pulse Bomb is going to be like your main source of DPS, okay? Why I say that for Pulse Bomb being main source of DPS is because it's an AoE attack, and also you have a talent called Explosive Rounds in your B talent, which increases the energy cost to 60, but it deals 150% damage. So assuming, I don't think it says increases damage by 150%, it just says deals 150% damage. I assume that's not a 150 damage percent increase, because I just think that normal damage would just be 100%, right? So you would think that it'd just be a 50% increase, you know? So it's not really double the damage. It's like 1.5 times damage, if that makes sense. So I don't know. It's really confusing to talk about. I do not know, because if we look here, like at Focus Bombardment, it says each hit dealing 80% damage. So you would assume that when you use the skill Orbital Bombardment, instead of it being a solo attack, it hits 3 people, but it does 80% damage instead of 100%. So I just assumed that instead of doing 100%, it does 150% damage for explosive rounds. So not sure, like, mathematically how that would stack up. Like, probably just like a 50% increase, which is pretty much like the equivalent of like a crit, in my opinion. But I'm not too sure. My math could be wrong, like my quick math right now, and I don't feel like, you know, fucking thinking too hard. It's too late. So you definitely want to have explosive rounds on, and since it costs 60 energy, you need to find some way to get that energy. So having your C talent being charged in Implosion, normal attack, one shot, and Wind Blast gives double energy on crits, which is very important. So Orbital Pulse Bomb is definitely your main source of DPS. Wind Shot going to be your main source of energy building. A Particle Cannon, avoid that shit like the plague. It fucking sucks, okay? What it does is it grounds you and it shoots a laser beam, okay? This laser beam has no tracking. If you miss, you miss. They take no damage. It's not worth using, okay? You're just gonna get wrecked using it. You're gonna get trapped. And then you have Arbiter of Peace, where you get out your Gatling gun, and then it has this neat talent where you take 30% reduced physical damage, which is kind of lame, because it'd be nicer if it was physical and magical physical and magical damage decrease, but it's only physical, but that's okay. It's a very nice spacing tool. Whenever you use it, it has knockback. It knocks your enemies back, which is very important for zoning, okay? Now let's talk about the other rotation here. We've got Tesla Solenoid, which is a great tool for, it is your CC, your 1 CC ability. Every time it hits them, it shocks them for 3 seconds, so it can be very annoying for people because every time they get hit, it'll shock them. Even if they use an ability to get out of it, they have to have some kind of hyper armor to resist a move like this. The SPI landmine, which is a great zoning tool. You put it down, if the landmine gets tripped, it does a knockdown effect and it knocks them down, which is very, very useful for running away, not being offensive. You want to you know, space out and get your zoning back so you can get away. Landmine is the perfect tool for that. And then now you have Heatblast here, okay? Heatblast is a really strong move. It does a shit ton of damage, and you want to make sure that your Heatblast crits like all the time, because it pretty much does damage on maybe on par or better with your pulse bomb, okay? And then you have your stealth camouflage here, which is a great way to get out of crowd control abilities, except for some things you can't break out of, like when the fucking soul dancers turn you into a fucking chicken. This shit's not gonna work. You just gotta wait. So stealth camouflage is going to be very important because you have your sneak attack here. So every time you break your camouflage, you get 5 seconds of increased crit rate, which is going to be very important for this kind of rotation. And you want to make sure everything is just right before you get it down, okay? So I'm going to show you guys the rotation really quick, and I'm going to show you the rotation, and then after that, I'm going to call it, you know, because this video is almost going to be like 20 minutes long, and I honestly, you know, don't want to be talking that long. So let's go aggro truffles over here. So basically, when you're doing your rotation, you kind of want to build first, and look how fast I build. So now I can tell you that I'm ready. So first, when you're setting them up, okay, you're dancing around, alright, fucking truffles, come back here. Alright, you want to use your Heatblast and your Solenoid, you know, CC move first, because they have a delay. So you hit that first, and once the delay comes, they don't hit right away. They kind of like delay themselves. So you have to get into stealth mode like really quickly, and then use your Heatblast, then switch, then hit pulse, then hit this pulse bomb here, and then after that hit the Gatling gun, okay? And then after that, you hit the Gatling gun, you hit the energy recharge, and you go for another pulse bomb, and then when they start running back to you, you put up your landmine so you can space out again. So I'm gonna try to show you guys. I'm probably going to fuck it up, but we're gonna see. So truffles, come back here. So boom, boom, stealth, fire, boom, 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 wind shot, back in, and then landmine, and then out, like that. So that's the rotation, like in a nutshell, and you do that like on any player, like any unsuspecting player, and it'll do a shit ton of damage. As you wait for your cooldowns to come down, there's another rotation you could use as well. So when that comes down, you set up this again, you landmine, you go invisible, boom, boom, and then you set that up, and you can set this up again, okay? And then after that, you have to wait like 25 seconds for it to come back online, and make sure you don't use your Heatblast while these are on cooldown, okay? You want to wait until those are done so you could use your Heatblast with your stealth again. So you're probably going to be just like, you know, waiting for that to come off cooldown and just spamming your pulse bomb in between, and maybe your Gatling gun. And then while you're in your Gatling gun, and you're like, oh shit, now I'm back up, I can start using this shit again. So I'll set up, boom, 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 stealth, fire, pulse bomb. Oh, I messed up, but it set up my Gatling gun, back in the pulse bomb, landmine because they're starting to run at me, run away, Alright, and then after that you kind of just have to wait until all those cooldowns come back down. You set up again. Once that stealth camouflage comes down, you could use your flame blast and your pulse bomb together. So you can set them up like that. Your CC, boom, 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 together like that. So like it's a nice good burst, like using that fire and your pulse bomb together. Okay. And I would just use my grenade, like my trip mine, as much as possible. And I just like, you know, just kind of juggle back and forth. You know what I'm saying? And then when I see that my shit's coming off cooldown and shit, when I'm juggling, I'm kind of manage my energy and set them up for like something really disgusting. So I'll do it one more time for you guys. Boom, boom, invisible. Boom, fire blast. Back again. Don't have my Gatling gun this time. They're coming close. Lay my trip mine down. Come in again. And then I kind of just have to, you know, go back and forth between my abilities until those come off cooldown. And again, when the stealth comes off cooldown, I set up my fire blast and my thing, my CC. Oh fuck, fucked up. Like so. And then I have 27, 28 seconds, and 20 seconds. So there's like 2 rotations, and you have to kind of like wait in between rotations, which it's kind of weird because you're kind of spamming landmine and like Gatling gun and pulse bomb, like, and wind shot together while you wait for these cooldowns to come back on. You always want to time your fire blast with like, you know, your CC. Every time you're trying to set someone up, like, you want to use your CC because your CC has like the same cooldown as your fucking stealth. Okay, like, it's very important to set up your CC because if they're not CC'd, they can get out, and you don't want them to get out. You want them to stay put. So that's that. I hope I helped you guys out. This has become a 22-minute video. I'm trying to teach you guys how to do this rotation, but it seems simple enough. Like, you guys will pretty much get it. And the reason why I like using the fire thing the most is because it's less obvious. Like, you could use other skills like this right here, which slows them down, but like, it's so obvious. They can tell that what's happening, and they can just like use their invulnerability. I feel like the fire thing is more sneaky, and it adds to your burst a lot better. So I like using the fire one. All right, guys. I hope I helped you guys out, and I have to get going now. Peace.